Hi, I'm Fran with Stampendous, and I'm here to explain some very fun new things that we have with pop-up cards and how the pop accessories adds to the fun that we've started with the pop-up die set. So some of you may be familiar with the original one, and this had a major piece in it that worked like this to pop up multiple elements onto your cards. And now we've added to that by bringing in these pop accessories, and this kit has 5 different key pieces, and on the packaging you're going to see them like this, and on the back side of the package we've shown some diagrams for how all of the different pieces will work, but this video will help walk you through why we created each one and how they work all together. The simplest one in the pop accessories is what we call the Bobbler. So this little piece is going to create a spiral that gives us a very bouncy effect and allows the heads to kind of bobble and move back and forth attached to the body. So let me show you. Usually I will do a similar color so that it doesn't show, but so that you can see where I'm going with this, I'm using some other colors of paper. So on this one, I've marked where we're going to put the glue, and this will help you see how it comes together. So now whether you want to attach the heads and bodies like this, or whether you want to do your little puppy dogs, and in here with the kitty in the basket you can see where I can play with the second piece before I attach it to find the best way to create whatever expression I want. And once those are connected, it'll be easier to use them in the rest of your card development. And so let's take a look here at how the Bobbler was used just on this flat card. This allows the little monkey's face to work separately, and here you can see at an angle how you have that spiral that creates the Bobbler head. Next we're going to talk about the stand piece. And it cuts and scores in such a way that you will be able to fold it all up and take these little tabs and turn them so that the tabs go to the inside. And there you have a little 3-dimensional stand which will be self-standing. And it doesn't really even need any glue, but certainly you can glue the pieces together to secure them. So as you can see here, I've made a real cute little Bobbler head bear and a place card, and by securing the stand on the back, this is freestanding and it makes a real cute little name place card. And over here you could see some more of the little pieces where sometimes you might just do a small name card like this and then use the little stand on the back, or you might do a larger one with some other message, or this could become part of a card or a scrapbook page. So you've got lots of ways to work with it, and this one, even the pattern begins to create a real fun part of the stand and how it looks from the back. Normally you would probably do matching colors so that the grays would all match there, and on this one I added I did a little way to add a little bit of ribbon for a little necktie. So that's the stand. And in case you want to use this in a card, you might create some additional folds so that it can collapse even when it's all glued together, and then it can still pop back up when the recipient has the card and wants to make it more 3D. Now let's talk about the pop-up card. And in the original pop-up set, you had one with multiple ways to present other pieces at the top. And sometimes you didn't use all those tabs and you had to do something to cover them up. But if you have a simpler plan where this little pop-up card is all you need, it's going to get positioned along the fold in the same way, and it's going to create a simpler pop-up like you see here. And you can do it on a large card, or you can do it on small cards, and this will allow me to have something that pops going open left to right, or something that pops up going this way. So let's take a look here in the same way where you can create your little characters, and I've used the bobble on the head, so I simply have one place to connect it to the card. And we'll see here, let's see, this one over here. Now you can see how with the bobblehead this gets attached as one piece, and you can create your little pop-up that way. And even with multiple characters, we're placing them behind, and we don't have anything overhanging in this one. So that's the pop-up, the simpler pop-up card. And it's nice to have both. Next, I want to talk about the pop-up box. And this is an unusual piece, and it cuts and scores. And on this side, it doesn't cut at all, and I'll show you why. So as you can see on the back of this diagram, we've shown here how this needs to get used on a folded panel of paper. So get a size that's big enough, and here I've done two-sided just so that you can see. And you're going to line this up, and if you can feel on the back side that this does not have a cut edge at all. It just has a support bar to hold it in place, and you want to slide that just off the edge of the paper so that it doesn't make it any bigger than intended. And when you run this through the machine, you're now going to have a piece like this that is scored and folded. And so this was your center fold, and this allowed us to make a more economical die that still gives you the size piece that you need. So here's a score, and here's another score. Okay, so this is our little pop-up box, and I'll show you how we secure it into the card. So with the pop-up box, you're going to apply glue to this panel and this panel that are the back edge, and by securing it into the middle of your standard card, you can see here this one has been glued to where these pieces go right down into the fold and become a center part of the card, and the dimensions of this are such that when you fold the card, they come out to the full width of it, and when it pops up, the little flaps come down, and you can put all sorts of different little characters into the box. So I know at different angles here, it's kind of hard to see, but here's a card with a little bit of decoration on the front, and when you open it up, here's your little character in the middle of the box, and it's really fun. He's got the little bobbler to hold the head together, and it sits up beautifully so that you can open and close and see your little character sitting in the little pop-up box. Now I want to show you how we use the hinge piece, and it's this little rectangle that looks like a window, but it will both cut and score in such a way that you have a double-sided little hinge like this. And this is what we're using to secure any of our little characters into the box, working on this little hinge. So to secure, here's one a little bit easier to see. Okay, so usually I will do this in a matching color so that it doesn't show much inside the box. But just so that you can see, I usually glue this together to give strength to it. And then you can take your little character, like this one, you can see where I've glued my little bunny onto the hinge so that I have the little flaps on this end. And this will allow me now to glue that little piece onto the inside of the box. And if you can see here from the underside, I will usually position it down to the bottom edge. And when you have a narrow little character like the bunny, you could position it almost anywhere up and down that range, and it's still going to fit to close, because this little character, if I put it on the outside, you can see, isn't any wider than the front of the box. But this is also designed so that if you have a wider little character like the elephant, and let's take a look here on some other bright colors. Now, if you want him to sit in the little pop-up box, you kind of have to study where is the best place to secure the hinge so that the body and even the wide feet here have a way to go all the way at an angle and still fit across the box. So by positioning it at a little bit further back, then when you go to close it, the feet can come forward and you have the diagonal width is gained so that when it closes, it will still fit inside the box. And of course, once it's opened and it's sitting up, then it's real easy to push it forward or back and have him sitting just happy as can be in the little pop-up box. So on this card, I used the ovals out of the pop-up set to create my balloons. And here's our little elephant sitting in the pop-up box. And then I wanted to try some other ways of having it look like the balloons were popping out of the card. So let me show you a couple other ideas that you can play with. I found some prints that looked like sky, any number of different things. And I did a small card and I did an even wider card just to be able to work with a little bit more width. And I found that for the balloons, one way to do it was to use some of the wire, and so I cut some pieces and simply taped my balloon onto the back, and that kept it flat and workable. And now I could maybe put some balloons on the front of the card, or if I wanted them to look like they're popping out of the package, I found that the best way was to secure a cluster of them on the wires, and then I even taped it together so that I could now attach the balloons as a group. And it works the best, I think, to just tape it securely to the inside of the box to the far left. And this allows, when it's standing up, they really come out three-dimensionally. But when you go to close the card, because of how it flattens out, your balloons are hanging out to the side. And the simple thing is just to put it in a bigger envelope when you send it. But obviously, when they receive it, it's going to be very three-dimensional, and by securing it in place, it will stand up beautifully with all the balloons. So then I went from balloons to doing the same sort of thing with the butterflies. And again, this time I taped the wired pieces together and then secured it inside one of the hinge pieces. And then you can play with your best position for securing that hinge to the side so that the butterflies can kind of move around when it pops up on the card. And in the same way, the butterflies looked really nice on the larger card. And again, by having them hinged, they can move around and you've got room to add other elements around the outside of the card. And here are flowers that again will have a little bit more space to close and be hidden, but pop up when it's open. Here I created a cluster of flowers, and I'm going to secure them to this inside edge and let them pop that way. And other ones I've put little bobbler pieces on the back, and those can be added as well to the background so that you have even more depth and layers of flowers in the back. And here's another very colorful cluster that I can do in the same way. You might want to use some little pieces of doily or tissue to create a little bit of a liner to your box, and even all scrunched and hanging over the edge might be kind of fun with the flowers to have a little bit of a lacy look. And just little pieces will be all that you need, really. And with your little bear here in the box, you might use some tissue paper in the same way to have some little pieces coming out or another little piece tucked in behind to just add a three-dimensional effect with lots of fun. So now you have lots of tricks to use your pop accessories to make beautiful cards of all different kinds with lots of mix and match options.